guys?
Welcome back to Tay's Cup of Joe.
Yes, sir. And we're finally here to do the
Game of Thrones lore. I had to give myself a new
Game of Thrones.
Remember I told you I was gonna be a rocker?
You did say that last time. But I think you said it on the Avatar.
I did, but felt it for this one. You feel me? Lore.
So what's interesting is that we're doing the histories and the lore. We're starting with season 1. And we're gonna try to get through all of these before we get to season 8 on YouTube.
Yeah.
On
YouTube.
On YouTube. I've never watched these.
It's lit.
Tay's never watched these, so these are kind of new for all of us.
Yeah.
I might know some of these points because I used to watch other YouTube videos in the past when I first started, but these particular videos I've never watched.
It's lit. Let's get into it. If you guys have not already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you're thinking. And finally, I'm so happy that we're getting to this lore for you guys because we see it in the comments all the time. We want to get it. We prioritize, making sure we get the Game of Thrones out on time. So finally, we have figured out a way to get these out to you as well. So it's lit.
Yes, sir. So let's start with the Game of Thrones Histories and Lore Season 1.
I'm excited because, now I get to pick up on all those little details I missed. And being so far in the season now, it's like, or in the show now, I'm going to probably pick up on more things.
In the dawn age of Westeros, before the coming of man and the raising of castles and cities, there were only the children of the forest.
There we go.
Little is known of them now, but it is said they were small in stature, dark and beautiful, and no taller than children when grown to manhood. They lived in the depths of the forests, villages, crags, and caves.
Thank you.
They hunted with weirwood bows
This isn't
and
Brand's
armed
voice,
themselves
though.
with blades of obsidian.
No, I don't think so.
Their wise men were called green seers and possessed of powerful magic. They worshipped nameless, faceless gods of the forest, stream, and stone. According to legend, it was they who carved faces in the great white trunks of the majestic willows. Their deep-cut eyes were red with sap and ever watchful. 12,000 years ago, the first men came from the eastern continent, crossing a land bridge called the Arm of Dawn.
Oh.
Where did they come from, though?
And wielding weapons of bronze.
No,
They cut down the children's forests.
How were they born?
A terrible war raged between the children and
That's
the
the
first men.
story that
It
life will
lasted
never
for
know.
centuries.
Lasted for
At long
centuries.
last, the two
Crazy.
races sought an end to the years of horror and bloodshed. They met on a small isle in the centre of a great lake called the God's Eye. It was there they forged the pact. The first man would be granted dominion over the coastlands, the mountains, the high plains and the bogs, but the deep forests would forever
They already
belong to
went
the
through so
children,
much.
and no weirwood tree would ever again fall to man's
That's
axe.
life, period.
To seal the pact before the gods, the children carved a face in every weirwood tree on the island, which came to be known as the Isle of Faces.
Wow.
But the pact could not withstand the coming of the Andals, a race of tall, fair-haired warriors. They attacked with fire and weapons of steel, slaughtering the children of the forest wherever they could find them.
Wow.
Why did you want to do that? You couldn't just
Hacking
live
away
in
the
harmony?
faces of the old gods and spreading their own religion through the land.
People always
Centuries
want the
followed,
power.
and the Andals conquered every kingdom in Westeros save one, the North. The kings of winter were able to withstand the Andal invasion, and descendants of the first men dwell there to this day and continue to worship the old gods.
Ah, okay.
As for the children of
So
the
the first
forest,
men in the Andals are
those who
completely
survived
different.
the slaughter were said to have fled far north and have not been seen again. Most assume they're long dead, and some don't believe they ever existed. They live on only through song and legend, and in the faces of the weirwood trees.
That's interesting.
It's crazy how there's so much story.
And that was like the
Aegon
first
Holy
5 minutes.
invaded Westeros, he had 7 kingdoms to contend with. The Kingdom of the North, the Kingdom of the Mountain and the Vale, the Iron Islands, the Kingdom of the Rock, the Kingdom of the Reach,
Constantly Rock.
Oh,
the
the Reach.
Stormlands, and Dawn.
Stormlands.
These regions had been
Is the
established by the
Reach,
first men thousands of years before, in the Age of Heroes.
Olenna?
One hero in this fabled age
I think so.
was Bran the Builder. Bran raised the wall and built the stronghold of Winterfell, establishing House Stark and reigning as the first king in the north. Other legends tell of the Grey King in the Iron Islands. Grey King took a mermaid to wife and defeated Naga, the first sea dragon. House Greyjoy of Pike, the current rulers of the region, claimed to descend from him. House Casterly ruled the gold-rich Westerlands from their mighty seat of Casterly Rock. But their lands and power were swindled from them by the legendary trickster, Lan the Clever. The noble house of Lannister is said to have descended from him. The verdant and fertile lands of the Reach were first ruled by House Gardener, whose founder, known as Garth Greenhand, wore a crown of flowers and vines. He ruled from Highgarden as the first king of the Reach and was said to have made the land bloom. Many noble houses trace their bloodlines back to him, including the current lords of Highgarden, House Tyrell. In the Stormlands, according to ballads of the age, a warrior named Durin fell in love with Elenai, whose father was god of the sea and mother was goddess of the wind. She gave her maidenhead to him, committing herself to a mortal life. In rage, her parents called upon the winds and waters, destroying Darren's Bayside.
Who's in the Stormlands now?
Wedding guests.
Let's see.
Darren declared war on the gods and rebuilt his keep, which was also destroyed.
Damn.
4 more
War on the
castles
gods?
were raised, each stronger than the last. All fell to the power of the gods.
I ain't gonna lie, this is a lot.
This is a lot of information.
Withstood the
I'm like, whoa, I should be taking notes.
Yeah.
Durin became known as Durin Godsgrief and reigned as the first Storm King. There are countless other tales from the Age of Heroes, too many to count. These histories weren't recorded in a book, but passed down from generation to generation through story and song. And while some of them may be dismissed as fairy tales, every one of the 7 kingdoms is defined by them.
Who's in the Stormlands now?
I'm not familiar with the Stormlands. I think, is that Riverland and stuff like that?
The smoking sea,
Maybe.
where no ship dares sail. There are those who swear it to be demon-haunted, and who's to say they're wrong? For it was there, thousands of years ago, that a cataclysmic event occurred, destroying one of the great civilizations in history. The precise details of their origins are lost to us.
Yeah, I want to
But
know
it is
that.
said the Valyrians were once a modest community of shepherds, tending their flocks on a small peninsula of the great eastern continent. One fateful day, in a volcanic area known as the 14 Fires, they made a shattering discovery.
Dragons. Oh, this is what I want to know.
Monstrous, scaled creatures with massive wings, sharp claws, and fiery breath. They were also said to have a deep-rooted
I
connection.
wonder if
to magic.
Dragonstone is connected to the actual
In
dragons.
time, the Valyrians were
No,
able
that's what
to tame
that's when they
beasts.
first landed.
I mean,
Harnessing their immense power, they established
I said the
a
whole
city
wrong
of
thing.
wonder, unlike any before or since.
Targaryen?
They became
The
skilled
stone
Oh,
men.
grayscale. Grayscale.
Grayscale.
creating uncommon
it's like
weapons
stone?
of spell-forged steel. Wielding these weapons astride their dragons, the Valyrians conquered the surrounding lands and slowly expanded west. At the time, the Giscari Empire dominated much of the great eastern continent and tried to stop Valyria's expansion. The Giscari legions attacked the Valyrians 5 times, but could never defeat them. Finally, the Valyrians marched on their capital, Old Gis, and obliterated it.
I never even heard
Turning
of the
streets and
Giscarians.
buildings to ash with dragon flame, and wiping the Giscari people and their culture off the face of the earth.
Wow.
The freehold of Valyria, as it came to be known, became the most advanced civilization in the known world, with its own language, gods, and culture. The Valyrians' reach extended far and wide, covering most of the continent. Great cities were built and roadways paved, all of which led back to Valyria. The freehold would prosper for nearly 5,000 years.
Oh,
But it was
sheesh.
not to last. An event that became known only as the Doom laid
Of
waste
Valyria.
to the Valyrians, their capital city, and its surrounding lands. The peninsula itself was shattered, becoming what is now the Smoking Sea. Every dragon was thought to be lost, as were the Valyrian spells, knowledge, and recorded
But
history.
what caused the doom?
Right.
Thus, the mighty empire collapsed. What caused this cataclysm?
There you
There you
go.
go.
No one knows for certain. Some say it was a volcanic eruption. Others say the Valyrians' own sorcery got the better of them.
That's what I was thinking.
In any event, the Doom's devastation of the Valyrian people was total.
Damn.
With the exception of a small rocky island in the narrow sea. Dragonstone.
And there was where Dany was
For it
born.
was there that the Targaryens, the last of old Valyria, dwelled.
What?
They would lie in wait for another 100 years before unleashing the fury of the dragon on another continent. Westeros.
Maybe that's Daenerys.
But I didn't know Dragonstone was that close to it, right? Like,
Night gathers, and now my watch begins.
they said they went west too.
It
So
shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crowns and win no glory. I shall live and die in my post. I am the sword in the darkness.
that's a sad post,
I am
though.
the watcher on the walls.
Like being in a nice
I am the
watch.
shield
Not it.
that guards the realms of men.
And they make you feel like it's such a
I pledge
prestigious,
my
like,
life and honor.
honor.
Yeah, I think at one point it might have been, and maybe we're gonna learn about that.
And all the nights
Yeah,
to
but
come.
now it's like a doom where we send you if
Legend.
you do wrong or,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Winter that lasted a generation, and of a vast and terrible darkness that fell across the land. It came to be known as the Long Night.
Yeah.
In the midst of this darkness,
Then they went over this in season 1.
the White Walkers emerged from the far north. With their armies of the dead, they waged war against the living, laying
Look at the
waste
heads.
villages and holdfasts, leaving terror and destruction in their wake. After years of brutal conflict and unbearable loss, an alliance of the first men and the children of the forest managed to drive the walkers and their minions
This might be straight out the book.
into the frigid
I was
northern
thinking, like,
wastelands
did
from
somebody
whence they
make this
came.
up or
Yeah, these might be because I know
is
this.
this, like, approved by the writers?
The first
This might
men
just be fresh off the book with images like.
a massive fortification, 700 feet in height, stretching from the Frostfang Mountains in the west to the Bay of Seals in the east. It was a structure unlike any ever built. Indeed, some maintain it could only have been completed.
And it's crazy that that wall was really
giants
just built.
were using the powerful
Like-
magic.
Wow, and they said that there was used giants help build the wall.
And then put the giants
Men were
out.
required to guard and maintain it, and thus the Night's Watch was born. A sworn brotherhood, tasked with defending the realms of men.
Because there's no men outside in the other realms, huh?
Lay beyond.
But then remember, it was
Upon
made for
taking his
the
vows,
White Walkers to keep
a
them
brother
on.
of the Night's Watch serves for life. It is a life of hardship and great sacrifice, so the oath must not be taken lightly. The punishment for desertion is death. The Night's Watch is divided into 3 vital branches: the Rangers,
Rangers.
the Builders, and the Stewards. While all Black Brothers are expected to take up steel should the need arise, the Rangers are the true warriors of the Watch. Centuries come and gone, and although the White Walkers have yet to return, another threat has emerged. Barbarian tribes known as Wildlings.
See, so
The Rangers
before
are charged with
they
defending
came after the
against
wall
these
was
lawless
built.
savages.
How? That
The
somebody had to be
builders are
left out there.
Carpenters, masons, miners, and woodsmen, tasked with maintaining the wall, as well as its various keeps, towers, and structures, which have fallen into disrepair over the years. The stewards serve as cooks, butchers, and hunters. They tend to the horses and messenger ravens, sew clothing, gather firewood, and bring supplies up from the south. The Night's Watch is a diverse group. Proud volunteers from noble houses stand side by side
Volunteers.
with petty thieves conscripted from dungeons. Class distinctions are left behind, as are past misdeeds. A man gets what he earns on the wall, and even the lowliest gutter snipe can rise up in rank if he proves himself worthy. For thousands of years, the brothers of the Night's Watch have stood their lonely vigil. as the seasons changed, as brutal wars raged in the south.
I don't care what kind of honor it is. I ain't going to the Night's Watch.
The Night's Watch endured.
It's literally a
We
no.
are the swords in the darkness. We are the watchers on the wall. We are the shields that guard the realms of men.
I like that there's like chapters too, you know?
Yeah. Hey, still moving.
I think he was the one from
Night's Watch while taking the black
Winterfell.
is a singular honour for any northerner. For it was in the north, some 8,000 years ago, that the first man drove back the White Walkers, erected the wall, and established the sworn brotherhood that would guard the realm and its people from the dangers beyond. Regrettably, the Night's Watch no longer commands the widespread respect and admiration it once did.
Right.
While House Stark and other houses in the northern regions continue to recognise its vital importance to the safety and stability of the realm.
They're in the north, that's why.
This
Exactly,
view
because
is not
remember,
shared by
Jon
the
Snow always
powerful
wanted to
houses
go,
of the southern
regardless.
Yeah.
kingdoms or their subjects. Most regard the Watch as a misguided, obsolete order made up of useless outcasts. Admittedly, the current Night's Watch is a shadow of its former glory. Their numbers have dwindled to less than 1,000. Of
Sheesh.
the 19 castles
I
of
do
the
remember
world,
him saying that
only
in
3
the
are
show, though.
functional. The Shadow Tower, Castle Black, and East Watch by the Sea. And the Watch's mandate of adding to the wall has been abandoned entirely.
Wow.
There are barely enough resources to maintain it. Recruiting officers, known as Wandering Crows, scour the dungeons and slums of the realm in hope of finding men to fill the ranks.
Right.
While there is still the occasional highborn volunteer, the newest recruits are almost entirely made up of lowly criminals.
And that's why, because they don't want to go there anymore. They probably see like,
sentenced to
how
the
is this an
wall's
honor?
punishment for their crimes. The
and
decline
your
of
life
this
seems like
once
it's kind of being
favourite
wasted
is
away.
troubling,
Yeah.
as the danger it guards against is all too real.
Why would you go in the
While
cold,
White
especially
Walkers
those
have
southern
been seen or heard from in
families, you
ages,
know? Southern
and may
people.
very well be the stuff of myth. Barbarian tribes that dwell beyond the wall, known as wildlings, have been a menace to the north and its people for generations. At certain points in history, the disparate wildling tribes have united behind a single leader,
Mance Raider.
the wall, and attempted large-scale attacks against the realm. But thanks to the resourceful and courageous men of the Night's Watch, these so-called kings were sadly defeated. While many have lost faith in the Night's Watch, the people of the North are steadfast in their belief that the Black Brothers will answer the call of duty.
Oh, yeah.
That would
At least the
break
Starks
up
always
Because
have
they're up
respect.
there too.
numbers, and a lack of
They're
widespread
like
support.
dealing with the winter.
Will they be ready?
They're closest to the north. They're probably the most connected. Wow, now it's by Tywin. Ooh, let's see a different
Long
opinion.
ago in the wintry north, an army of demons emerged.
That actually
from
low-key
beneath the
sounds
It
like
ice
him.
sounds like him for sure.
and spread darkness
And Maester
and
Lewis
despair
did too.
across the land. Astride their monstrous spiders, flanked by giants, they wreaked havoc on the innocent, slaughtering thousands. All hope was lost until the fearless warriors of the first Night's Watch drove them back into the wintry mountains and built a magic wall to keep them from ever invading again. These stalwart brothers in black continue to protect us even to this day from the evils that lurk in the shadows. An absurd lie, a fairy tale spun by many a wet nurse in the north. To be sure, a giant wall does exist. A triumph of engineering, perhaps, but not of magic.
That sounds like something he
It
would say.
does.
There may have been a time
None
centuries
of
ago
magic.
when there was prestige and honor in the miserable.
A lot of these are kind of
monastic
repeated
life of a
stories,
black
too.
brother.
Yeah.
But now, the wall has become a glorified penal colony, full of outcasts, criminals, and assorted ne'er-do-wells. Today, a typical man of the Night's Watch most likely started out a lowly beggar, or a rapist, or a village idiot. As for the few high-born watchmen, they either fought on the losing side of a war,
Right.
or were disowned by their parents for one reason or another. Those who persist in defending
Imagine relying on those people who
claim the
hate their
Seven
lives
Kingdoms
to
League protection
defend you,
from
you
the
know?
Yeah.
wildling
Well, some
tribes
people
of
probably
the
want to
far
like
north.
restore their honor by doing
This
that or
led
something,
fear
you know?
from those
Feel like they'll get a
privileges.
sense of
They're a nuisance.
Yeah.
They're not sophisticated or powerful
redemption.
enough to be a significant threat to the realm. And any talk of White Walkers returning with their armies of the dead and their giant spiders and their snarks is just that. Talk.
and they don't believe none of that. I don't like that. When how Ned Stark killed somebody in the beginning,
In the
remember
Seven
for that?
Kingdoms of Westeros, the dominant religion is the faith of the Seven. First brought to its shores by the Andals some 6,000 years ago.
But there are some who still keep to the old way, worshipping the faceless gods of the
And
children
that's
of
mostly
the
the
forest,
people in the north.
and
Yeah.
the first men.
First men. Okay.
The old gods are countless, nameless spirits of nature. In ancient times, the children of the forest carved faces in the trunks of the weirwood trees, which became sacred symbols of their faith. In time, the first men adopted the children's gods as their own. Most castles at that time contained a godswood with a weirwood or heart tree at its centre.
Meanwhile, across the narrow sea,
I feel like this
a
sounds
new
like her
religion
low
was
key
That
born
too.
sounds
in
like
the hills
Catelyn,
of
yeah.
Angelos.
Maybe they did do it.
According to legend, the god of seven revealed itself to the Andals, and the invasion of Westeros followed soon after.
I want to hear
The
Rob Stark. I
Andals
miss him.
sailed across the sea on ships armed with weapons of steel. Some warriors carved a seven-pointed star into their skin as a symbol of their new faith.
The invaders destroyed most of the weirwoods in the southern lands, slaughtered the children of the forest wherever they could find them, and conquered every kingdom of the first men, save the north. In time, the faith of the Seven spread like wildfire throughout the land. The Seven is a single deity with seven aspects, each symbolizing a different area of life, though most people refer to the Seven as separate gods.
The mother is prayed to for mercy and watches
It's funny
over
because I've
fertility,
never known who the
childbirth,
seven are.
Me either. I always know that's just their religion.
The father
But I didn't
sits
know
in
anything
judgment
The
more.
mother,
over
right?
souls.
The mother, the father.
The warrior
The
is
warrior.
prayed to for protection,
Next one is
valor, and
the
skill in
nurturer or
battle.
the gardener.
The crone is
Oh.
a symbol of wisdom and
That's
foresight.
scary.
The crone though?
The smith
Why'd have to look
watches
like
over
that?
creation and craftsmanship. The maiden symbolizes
maiden.
purity, love, and beauty.
That's me.
Finally,
Ooh.
there is the stranger,
Oh.
rarely prayed to, who represents death.
Ooh.
The faith is highly organized and
The
deeply
stranger.
influential in Westerosi politics and culture as the official religion of the monarchy. Worshippers gather in temples of the faith called septs. The seat of the faith is the Great Sept of Baelor, which is located in the capital.
With Cersei blew up.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy you
Still,
did that.
in the north, where descendants of the first men dwell, worship of the old gods continues to this day, and the sacred faces of the weirwood trees keep close watch over the faithful.
Ah, Rob! That's what I said.
The ascension of Aegon Targaryen
That's
It's definitely him.
and the fate of the Seven Kingdoms.
I miss him so
sealed
much.
on the field of fire. Kings Loren Lannister of the Rock and Mern Gardner of the Reach stood against Aegon's invasion. They commanded a united force of 600 banners, 5,000 mounted knights, and 50,000 men at arms.
Damn, they lost.
Aegon's host was vastly outnumbered, and when the army of the two kings charged, the invaders turned heel and ran. But Andal Night was no match for Dragonflame. When Aegon unleashed all three of his dragons, 4,000 souls were horrendously burned alive on the
Oh,
battlefield.
shoot.
King Mern among them. Realizing all hope was lost, King Loren surrendered. The Starks of Winterfell had no intention of submitting to Targaryen rule. They had reigned as kings in the north since the days of the First Men and were determined to resist the Targaryen invaders, just as they had resisted the Andals thousands of years
And what
ago.
happened? I'm interested in
King
this one.
Torrhen Stark led his army to the Red Fork just east of Riverrun, hoping to succeed where Loren and Mern had failed. But when Torrhen saw the size of Aegon's now mighty host, along with his monstrous dragons, he knew he couldn't subject his followers to the horror of another field of fire.
Feel that.
He bent the knee and swore fealty to Aegon, who allowed the Starks to maintain their lordship over the region as Lords Paramount and Wardens of the North.
Wow.
Without
Good
question,
call, though.
Torrent Stark saved thousands of lives that day.
Right. Why are we gonna go fight to get burned?
As the king who knelt.
Damn.
He was known after as a king that knelt. That
I mean,
sucks.
the king that saved you all, though.
Yeah,
Let's be
for
real.
real, for real.
Were numbered.
Every
One
king,
by
right?
one,
A king
their so-called
for his people has
kings
to.
were bending
Oh,
the knee
Viserys is
or facing the
Dany's
wrath
brother.
of Aegon
Yeah.
Targaryen.
That's this voice for sure.
Aegon of Old Valyria. Aegon who was blood of the dragon. After
That
defeating
sickening
the
guy.
Iron
Oh,
Lord
I
Theon
remember
and
him.
slaying the last of the Storm Kings, Aegon and his sisters, Rhaenys and Visenya, set their sights on other prizes. The gold mines of the Rock and the fertile lands of the Reach. King Loren Lannister of the Rock and King Mern
Loren
Gardner of the
Lannister.
Reach foolishly thought their combined armies could beat back the Targaryen host.
Fools.
They rode forth together, their proud banners flapping in the wind, and faced off against Aegon in a vast golden field of wheat. The two kings commanded a massive force of nearly 60,000, and it appeared the day was theirs. Until Aegon unleashed all three
Let's be
of his
real.
dragons for the first
Why are we
and
fighting
only time.
dragons? Make it make sense.
Each beast was named after the Valyrian gods of Aegon's forefathers. Visenya rode Vhagar, whose fiery breath could melt armor. Rhaenys rode Meraxes,
Ooh.
whose jaws were big enough
I've
to
heard these
swallow
names
a horse whole. Greatest of all was Balerion the Black Dread.
You remember
with
that's the
fire
skull that
dark
they
as
had
night,
in the
with wings
basement.
so huge, whole towns were covered in shadow when he flew overhead.
Wow, they need to
Yeah.
make a series of that right there, yo.
In House of the Dragon?
It is
4,000
after
men
that.
were bathed in
House of the
glorious
Dragon.
dragon
After dragons were already around?
on what
After
came
the
to be known as
Targaryens
the
were
Field
already
of
in
Fire.
Westeros.
Okay, so it's
King
not
Mern was
the
among the
upcoming
dead,
of it.
Yeah.
and House Gardner died with him.
I can't wait.
His
It's
stewards,
good.
the
It's
Tyrells,
really good.
surrendered his ancestral stronghold of Highgarden to Aegon, and were appointed Lords Paramount of the Reach and Wardens of the South. When Loren Lannister witnessed Mern's fate, he wisely bent the knee.
There you go.
Aegon spared Loren's life, and the Lannisters were made Lords Paramount of the Westerlands.
Look at
and
the heads
Wardens of the
hanging.
West.
Oh,
After his triumph on the Field of Fire, Aegon's conquest was assured. In a short time, the so-called Seven Kingdoms were melted down in the heat of the dragon's flame
Damn.
and transformed into a single realm. Aegon would forever be known as
Aegon the
The
Conqueror.
Conqueror, yeah.
See, they need to do that, bro. 'cause
They should
that-
make Aegon the Conqueror a show.
right.
In the far southwest of Westeros, at the mouth of the river Honeywine, lies the great stone city of Old Town. It is home to the citadel, where men and boys from throughout the kingdoms come to receive their training.
Oh,
as
makes
No, that's right. This was Sam
Masons
Tarly,
play
Yeah.
an integral role in Westerosi society, serving as scholars, healers, and advisors to the nobility of the Seven Kingdoms. This venerable order of learned men dedicate their lives to serving the realm, and are sworn to occupy a neutral position when it comes to power and politics. Upon completing his training at the Citadel and taking his vows, a maester renounces his family name and takes a vow of celibacy. He is assigned to a castle or keep, and duty-bound to serve as its counselor and healer, even if control of the castle changes hands. A maester's allegiance is to the realm, not to any one family.
Period.
His badge of office is a great chain, forged from links of different metals which he wears around his neck. It is a reminder of his role as a servant of the realm and is never to be removed. A maester forges his chain with study.
Meister
and
Pycelle
each link
was
represents
the
the
opposite of
mastery
all
different
this.
kind of learning. For instance, a silver link signifies mastery of the medicinal arts. A golden link represents the study of money and accounting. An iron link indicates knowledge of warcraft. Ravenry is an especially important skill for a maester, as it is he who breeds, trains, and maintains carrier ravens for the delivering of messages throughout the land.
It's a huge responsibility, right? You gotta really want to do that shit.
Forged of Valyrian steel. This signifies knowledge of the higher mysteries, commonly known as magic. Only one maester in 100 possesses such a link, as this field of study is frowned upon by...
I wonder what Maester Aemon's links were like, because now I don't remember.
Magic may have existed for a time long ago, but most consider the higher mysteries to be long gone from this world.
And that's like the opposite of what they have to do. Their responsibility is to know everything. They can't shun one thing.
It is little wonder there are some who refer to the Order as the Knights of the Mind.
Is right. The Mad King.
As word of King Aerys' erratic and troubling behaviour spread throughout the Seven Kingdoms, Lord Rickard Stark continued to serve his king faithfully as Warden of the North.
Oh my God, this
The proud father of 4 children, his daughter Lyanna, was engaged to Robert Baratheon, the young lord of Storm's End. Centuries of peace between the North and the Iron Throne ended the day Rhaegar Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone, abducted Lyanna. Enraged, Brandon Stark rode to King's Landing, demanding the release of his sister and the death of Rhaegar. Aerys arrested him for treason and called his father to come to the capital to ransom him. When Lord
Brandon
Rickard
Stark
complied, Aerys, now utterly mad,
This is
like Ned's brother?
arrested treason as
Okay.
well. Lord Rickard demanded a trial by combat.
Regards his dad.
Aerys declared fire the champion of House Targaryen and had Lord Rickard suspended from the rafters of the throne room while pyromancers lit a blaze beneath him.
Yikes.
As he burned, Brandon was brought into the throne room. A leather cord attached to a strangulation device was wrapped around his neck.
Oh my gosh.
Aerys told Brandon his father was a dead man, but there was a chance to save him. A long sword was placed on the floor just out of Brandon's reach, and the more he struggled to reach it, the more the cord tightened around his throat.
Oh,
wow.
shoot.
Brandon Stark strangled himself, trying to free his father.
Wow.
He was roasted alive in his own
Wow.
I did not know that
The
part.
court stood and
That
watched
is
this
sick.
atrocity take place.
So the Mad King was really mad.
Among them. The Mad King was reported to have laughed hysterically as these 2 noble men were tortured and brutally killed before him.
Oh, sheesh.
Seeking to resolve
Shout out to
the
Jaime
war's
Lannister for
supposed
killing him.
enemies,
Yeah.
Aerys called for the head of Rickard's younger son.
Hold that Kingslayer title real strong.
And Lyanna's betrothed, Robert Baratheon. He sent word to Lord John Arryn, who had fostered both young men at the Eyrie, to apprehend them. Instead, Lord Arryn joined houses Stark and Baratheon in rebellion. Robert vowed to kill Rhaegar Targaryen and get his beloved Lyanna back.
Did she actually... He didn't actually, like, kidnap her, right? She was down.
Yeah,
Aerys
exactly.
Targaryen was the last of his
But she
name
was
to
already
sit
promised to
behind
Rob
Yeah.
Baratheon.
Known far and wide as the Mad King.
Aw,
His was
I
a reign
liked
of
Robert's
stability
time in
and
the show,
terror.
too.
Yeah.
The Seven Kingdoms are well
It was too
rid of
short.
him and his kind. Oh, he may have appeared to be a capable ruler at first, but that was due in no small part to his counselors, led by the hand of the king, Tywin Lannister. There may
Tywin
have
was the
been
hand.
years of peace and prosperity during Aerys' reign, but it was Tywin who was really running the country as Aerys spiraled further and further into
Tywin's
insanity.
been that
The
guy.
dragon spawn were famous for losing their minds. It was the price they paid for centuries of keeping the bloodlines pure. And
Incest.
Aerys more than
Yep.
happily continued the noble sister-fucking tradition of
Oh.
his forefathers. As the years passed, Aerys' behavior became increasingly erratic. He cut himself so often on his iron throne, many referred to him as King Scab,
What?
but never to his face. It was rumored he had developed an obsession with wildfire and was known to inflict horrific punishments on those he considered enemies, including burning them alive.
As his paranoia and bloodlust grew, he had a bitter falling out with Lord Tywin, who had served the crown faithfully for 20 years. At least Tywin was able to leave the job with his life and fortunes intact. Subsequent hands of King Aerys weren't so fortunate. Then the Targaryens went too far. The Crown Prince Rhaegar abducted Lyanna Stark, daughter of Rickard Stark, the Lord of Winterfell. She was my betrothed. She was my beloved. Beautiful and spirited woman.
He did love her, yo.
Life
She
itself.
should have kept it a buck. I guess she couldn't.
Rhaegar went south with Lyanna, hiding her away in Dorne. What harm he inflicted on the poor girl, the gods only know. Brandon Stark,
No
Lyanna's
harm.
eldest
All
brother,
love.
was
Right.
outraged. He rode to King's Landing to confront the king and demand his sister's safe return. Instead, Aerys had him executed, his father, Rickard Stark, as well. There wasn't much left to discuss after that. Aerys feared their loved ones would seek revenge for what he did. He was right to be afraid. Aerys wasted no time in calling for the heads of Brandon's younger brother, my friend Eddard Stark. And my head too, of course. I'm sorry he didn't come looking for it himself. Alongside John Arryn of the Vale, the man who fostered Ned and I as children, Baratheons, Starks, and Tullys all called their banners. Once our rebellion began, the Mad King's days were numbered.
Moved by Tywin. This would be good. Because I feel like he knew the Mad King.
Behavior grew more and more erratic. The task of ruling the Seven Kingdoms fell to me, Tywin Lannister. I had served Aerys for nearly 20 years, and as a result, the realm had prospered. The royal coffers were full, the land was at peace. But Aerys grew increasingly hostile, jealous of the success many credited to me. My power and influence unnerved him. The captain of my personal guard, Sir Ellen Payne, was once overheard making offhand comments regarding who was the true ruler of Westeros. When the king was given this information, he had Ellen Payne's tongue ripped out with hot pincers.
You remember the guy that
It was
killed
my
Ned?
desire to unite the houses of Lannister and Targaryen through marriage. My daughter Cersei would marry Aerys' eldest son, Prince Rhaegar. Such a union made perfect sense for all parties. However, Aerys' senses had begun to leave him quite some time earlier. Instead of uniting the royal family with its most loyal and powerful ally, Aerys chose instead to insult my family, indicating that such a match was beneath Rhaegar. Instead, he chose Elia Martell of Dorne to be Rhaegar's wife. As if to rub salt in my wounds, Aerys appointed Jaime, my son, to the King's Guard. The King's Guard may be an honor for lesser families than ours, but it is a lifetime appointment that forces him to renounce all family
titles.
holdings.
Yeah, so he couldn't even.
So that's why he did it.
This creates a difficulty in naming an heir to Casterly Rock.
He was a bitch, huh? I never thought about that.
I had grown tired of the king's constant provocation.
Surprised he didn't poison
Thus,
him.
I resigned my post as Aerys' hand and returned to Casterly Rock with my considerable forces. When Robert Baratheon rebelled against the throne, Aerys grew fearful that I would join with Robert's forces and rise against him. He thought himself clever and kept Jaime very close, as if warning me. He sunk deeper and deeper into delusion, paranoia, and violence. I've heard it said
It's a
he
downward
became
spiral.
obsessed with wildfire, a substance which, once lit, cannot be extinguished. Convinced he had enemies all around him, he wouldn't allow blades in his presence, save for those of his King's Guard. Alas, that proved to be his undoing.
There you go.
Tywin
Tywin probably
Lannister.
loved it.
He's like top 5 best characters. Like, best characters. Not, I don't want to say he's my favorite, but
he had a great character.
Yeah.
He was a boss.
A dynasty forged in fire,
smart too.
sealed in blood, and destroyed by rebellion. The Targaryens are blood of the dragon, descended from the nobility of ancient Valyria, a once mighty empire in the east. When the cataclysmic doom laid waste to Valyria and its people, the Targaryens survived, having settled on the island fortress of Dragonstone years before. They remained there for a century, until the rise of Aegon the Conqueror. Instead of attempting to reclaim the eastern lands of his ancestors, Aegon sailed west for the Seven Kingdoms, his sisters Visenya and Rhaenys at his side. To keep the bloodlines pure, Aegon continued the custom of his Valyrian ancestors and took both of his sisters to wife.
wow.
Together, they came ashore on the eastern coast of Westeros, their blazon a dragon with 3 heads, representing Aegon and his sister wives. Their words, fire and blood. While their host was small in comparison to the armies of Westeros that awaited them, Aegon and his sisters had a secret weapon, the last of the dragons. He conquered every kingdom save Dorne, which eventually bowed to Targaryen rule a century later. He had the swords of his enemies melted down by the fiery breath of his dragon, Balerion the Black Dread, and forged into the Iron Throne. The capital city of King's Landing was built on the eastern coast, where Aegon and his sisters first came ashore, and Aegon ordered the construction of a royal castle on its highest hill, the Red Keep. For 300 years, the Targaryen dynasty stayed strong in the face of rebellion, civil war, and plague. But the line of dragon kings was broken when my father, Aerys Targaryen, the second of his name, was overthrown in rebellion. My father was betrayed and slaughtered by Ser
Your father was a psycho.
a member of his own Kingsguard. His son and heir, my brother Rhaegar, perished on the field of battle at the hands of Robert Baratheon, who claimed the Iron Throne for himself. And so today, the only surviving members of the storied Targaryen dynasty are myself, Prince Viserys, rightful King of the Andals and ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, and my sister, Daenerys. We were spirited away to the free cities of the East by loyalists. Here we have lived in exile ever since, dreaming of a day when we will cross the narrow sea.
It's crazy because who really is I mean, clearly Baratheon didn't like rightfully earn it, but you know, the Targaryens came and fought kind of to get it too, no? Or was somebody on the throne before that, or no?
The Andals.
Right, so they took it too.
Rebellion.
And the other people just lost, so they claimed it.
The crimes of House
Just like you lost.
Targaryen were too heinous to go unanswered. The noble houses of Baratheon, Stark, and Arryn united to oppose and overthrow the line of the cursed Dragon Kings. While Ned Stark and Arryn secured an alliance with the Tullys of Riverrun, I called the banners of Storm's End and rode out in force against the Mad King and his minions. Gods, those were some battles. Our first victory occurred at Summerhall, where I faced off against an army of dragon loyalists and won 3 battles in a single day. 3.
Damn, he was really a warrior.
Yeah.
That was a glorious day. We tried to take Ashford Castle in the Reach, but the Tyrells beat us back. We had to regroup. My army was pursued north by Aerys's army and took refuge in the Stony Sept in the Riverlands. When the Targaryen army entered the town, the Sept bells tolled, a signal to the townspeople of the battle that was to come. As the Targaryens searched from house to house for me, the combined forces of Ned Stark and the Tullys swept into the city. Gods, what a day that was.
Gods! Love that.
Known as the Battle of the Bells.
I never heard of that one.
Overwhelmed the Mad King's forces and sent them scampering back to King's Landing. Aerys' son, Rhaegar, who started the whole damn thing, finally emerged from hiding in the south and assembled his own army to face us. As for the Mad King, he must have been pissing himself.
But
The battle that would decide the fate of the Seven Kingdoms occurred at the crossing of the Green Fork of the Trident
That's the
River.
Trident, yep.
Rhaegar commanded the royal host, which was some 40,000 strong. My
Shit.
forces were outnumbered by nearly 5,000.
they got some men.
But that didn't matter.
Oh, nah, they
They
were
were fresh,
true warriors.
But we were battle-hardened and
Yeah.
had justice on our side.
And
As the
outnumbered and they
battle
still won.
raged around us, I
That's a
faced
big
off with
outnumber.
Rhaegar, the stag and the dragon right there in the ford of the river.
Damn.
I fought with the fury of 10 men, raining blow after blow upon that vile prince before burying my warhammer in his chest. I hit him so hard the rubies on his armor broke free, flinging them into the stream. They call it the Ruby Ford now. With that
Yo.
stone Rhaegar dead and the royal army shattered, our next move was to make for King's Landing. But I'd sustained a few wounds in the battle and was unable to ride. I sent Ned Stark to the capital to face the Mad King.
And Ned
and
really
make
could have
him
took
pay
the
for
throne
his
for
crimes.
himself.
Well,
Damn, nah. There's a lot of these that needs
The
to be like
Targaryens, blood of the
done,
dragon,
you know,
the
in the
last
show.
of
Yeah.
Valyria, were loved by their subjects.
Even
And
animation,
admired
I'd watch the
far
shit
and
out of
wide
that.
as the greatest dynasty in the history of the Western world. But the peace and prosperity of nearly 3 centuries of Targaryen rule was shattered by the usurper, Robert Baratheon, and his band of traitors. House
And you just see
Baratheon
all the
owed
different
its very
opinions, like,
existence to the Targaryens.
so different.
Was it
Mhm.
not
Yeah, because it's
Aegon
being
the
told by
Dragon
different
himself
people.
who
Yeah.
elevated
Yeah.
the bastard Oris Baratheon in the War of Conquest? And what of the Starks, the Lannisters, the Arryns of the Vale? All had been spared and allowed to keep their lands when Aegon could easily have wiped them out. Centuries later, the usurper and his lackeys repaid Aegon's benevolence with treachery. There are some who dare to claim Robert and his allies had reason to rebel. They say the crown prince stole the usurper's lady love. They say my father, King Aerys, murdered Rickard Stark and his son without just cause. Whether these charges are true
that
or
was
not,
wild.
it doesn't matter. The dragon answers to no one.
Boy, shut up.
Aerys' good name has been besmirched in the years since the rebellion. He's been called a dangerous madman, a monster, a tyrant that brought his tragic end upon himself.
That part.
Lies!
I agree.
My father was a victim of weaklings in his council. Lackwits who failed him in his hour of need and let the rebellion spin out of control.
They're probably down for him to
But it was
lose.
not enough. The royal army was crushed at the Battle of the Trident. It was there the valiant Rhaegar met Robert in single combat, but the gods betrayed him, and he perished by the usurper's hand. As the field of
He is
fire
probably
had
so
not
satisfied,
begun to
Robert.
be
Oh.
Right after killing him, like the guy that took your girl
the
supposedly.
Trident seemed to
I'm
have
sure he
lost
felt
the dragon.
crazy right there, like a great.
When word reached
Like,
the capital
on top of
my
the
brother
world.
Rhaegar's death, my father Aerys moved to protect me, as I was the surviving heir to the throne. He sent me to
Psycho
the
brother.
island fortress of Dragonstone, along with my mother, Queen Rhaela, who was great with child. But as my father, my king, Aerys Targaryen, prepared to defend his throne to the bitter end, little did he know of the horrors and betrayals that awaited him and our family.
Ours is the fury. These are the words of the Black Stag of Baratheon. A battle cry echoed throughout the land in rebellion when I,
The Black
Robert
Stag
Baratheon,
makes it
the
sound like
first
it's
of
so
his
much
name,
more amazing
seized the
creature.
Iron Throne from
It's
the
a deer,
Mad
right?
King Aerys
Yeah.
Targaryen, ending a dynasty nearly 300 years old. House Baratheon was born in the Wars of Conquest, when Aegon the Dragon invaded Westeros. Aegon sent his commander Oris Baratheon to take Storm's End. Argilac the Arrogant, the last of the Storm Kings, foolishly left the safety of his stronghold and met the Baratheon.
Well, Storm's End was where the Baratheons are.
Oh,
Argilac
the
was soundly
I forget
defeated.
about them.
And
Because they're not like a thing anymore after Robert.
His holdings, and his daughter. Oris was said to be a half-brother to Aegon Targaryen. If this were true, a little blood of the dragon mingled with that of the stag in those days. The seat of House Baratheon is Storm's End, a legendary keep raised in the Age of Heroes. It overlooks Shipbreaker's Bay, where legend has it that Durin, the first Storm King, raised the keep with the aid of Bran the Builder of House Stark, forging a centuries-long connection with the Stormlands and
That's
the
how
North.
they always got along.
After Aegon's conquest of the Seven Kingdoms, the Baratheons remained loyal enough to the crown, while Targaryen kings came and went. But loyalty has its limits. When Rhaegar Targaryen, Aerys's vile son and heir, abducted Lyanna Stark, my betrothed, my beloved, it was time to act. We raised our banners, Baratheon, Stark, Jon Arryn and the Tullys, united in rebellion against Rhaegar and his father, the Mad King.
These battles must have been massive. He's fighting with 40,000 people.
Crazy.
That bit of dragon blood in my veins came in well, as it made me a distant relation to the Targaryen dynasty blood of my long-lost ancestor, Oris. The truth of it is, I took it. I sit on the Iron Throne. I rule the Seven Kingdoms from the Red Keep.
So he's saying he could have been part Targaryen a little bit, because he said his father, his ancestors mingled with the Targaryens, right?
Robert Baratheon's victory at the Trident was a turning point in the war for the Iron Throne. While it was clear the gods were smiling on the rebel forces, Aerys Targaryen still held the Red Keep at King's Landing. As Robert was wounded and unable to ride, it was up to Eddard Stark to make for the capital and force the Mad King to give up the throne. Lord Stark reached the city gates.
Did they have no dragons at this point?
Tywin Lannister,
Okay.
Lord of Casterly Rock, had already sacked the city in Robert's Main. House Lannister had remained neutral up to this point, ignoring requests for help from both the Crown and the rebels. Now that Robert's eventual victory was assured, it seemed Lord Tywin had finally chosen a side.
Yeah. And that
Lord
gave his daughter
was
her.
horrified by what he saw when he entered the city. Homes looted and burned, women raped, scores of innocent citizens killed. Disgusted, he led his force up Visenya's hill to the Red Keep. Upon entering the throne room, he found King Aerys lying in a pool of blood, dead by the hand of his own sworn King's Guard, Jaime Lannister, who sat brazenly upon the throne.
Damn.
Demanding to know the whereabouts of Queen Rhaegar, Lord Eddard was informed the Queen and her son Viserys had been spirited away to Dragonstone before the Lannisters arrived. But other members of the royal family were not as fortunate.
Damn.
Elia Martell of Dawn, who was the wife of Prince Rhaegar, had been raped and murdered by Sir Grigor Clegane.
Whoa.
Tywin's orders.
Yep.
Sir Grigor and his men had also butchered Rhaegar's young children.
And that's why he came and was ready to fight him. Elia Martell!
The Lannisters' answer for their heinous crimes. Robert refused and sent him south to relieve the Baratheon.
And Elia Martell was promised to Aerys' first son.
Rhaegar.
No, not Rhaegar. That was Lyanna.
No, Rhaegar. Remember, he was in love with Lyanna.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Later, when Robert was crowned, he appointed Jon Arryn as Hand of the King. Lord Arryn's first order of business was to broker a truce with the Martells of Dawn, who were outraged by the brutal murder of Princess Elia and her children. Following the death of Lyanna Stark, who had been betrothed to Robert, Houses Baratheon and Lannister were joined in marriage when the new king took Tywin Lannister's eldest daughter Cersei as his queen. As for Eddard Stark, he returned to his stronghold of Winterfell, forever haunted by his sister's death and the shameful way that Robert had secured his throne.
You know what's crazy? Eddard really didn't get anything aside from revenge from that.
For our rebellion to succeed, King's Landing had to be taken.
But why is he saying the shameful way Robert took the throne? He was the one helping.
Foolish enough to believe that Aerys was going to hand his
you know, because the
crown
city
over
was getting
peacefully.
pillaged. You know what I'm saying? So like,
not on his account.
On Robert Baratheon's.
He wasn't the king yet. It was Aerys.
But it was his army.
Unfortunate, but it was necessary to secure the Iron Throne and bring peace and justice to the Seven Kingdoms. My glorious victory at the Trident left me wounded, but I sent my personal maester to attend to Sir Barristan Selmy instead. His wounds were more severe. Even though Sir Barristan was a member of Aerys' Kingsguard and fought on the opposing side, that man's bravery and loyalty was something to behold. And this meant my wounds would take longer to heal, and I couldn't ride to King's Landing myself. I sent the one man I trusted over anyone else in this world, Ned Stark, in my place. Had I been able to ride, perhaps I could have reached King's Landing sooner and prevented some of the violence that occurred when the Lannisters entered the city. Still, what Lord Tywin did was for the greater good.
Oh, it's when the
Even
Lannisters.
what happened to Princess Elia and her children. Babies or no, theirs was the same cursed blood that flowed within the Mad King's veins. They were dragon spawn and couldn't be allowed to survive.
That's terrible.
That
I think that's what he was mad about too.
Yeah.
Was killing all the babies and the family.
Damn northern honor. He and I had our first major fight over the deaths of the Targaryen.
There you go. That's what he was ashamed of.
Yeah.
Ned called it murder.
My guy Ned.
It was war. It was war. Lord Stark demanded that the Lannisters be held responsible for their crimes. Was it a crime to put an end to a family of lunatics born of incest?
That's terrible.
Still won't blame Tywin. Instead, I sent Ned Stark south to finish off the remaining Targaryen loyalists. It was only Lyanna Stark's death that reconciled us. Ned had lost his sister. I had lost my betrothed and beloved.
And you gained the kingdom though. What did Ned? That didn't get nothing.
Nothing.
Together, Ned and I. Through it, our friendship was made strong again. As for the Mad King,
Because he didn't even make him hand or nothing.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
those
Why?
able to scurry away in the face of my
Maybe he didn't
fury now
really want to
live
at all.
somewhere across the narrow sea. They had best stay there. If they ever set foot in Westeros again, they will face the king's justice.
Yeah, let's hear Tywin try to explain why he did that.
Targaryen lay dead on the banks
He
of
wanted to
the
be on the winning
Trident.
side.
His royal army shattered and in retreat. The days of the Dragon Kings were clearly numbered. Until that moment, it would have been foolish to commit Casterly Rock to either the Crown or the Rebellion.
Right. He needed to know what side was winning.
What's gonna win? Yeah.
Supporting a raving madman. Or in entering a crusade to put Robert Baratheon on the Iron Throne. But chaos benefits no one.
Except
It was time for
Littlefinger.
House Lannister to do what it could to ensure a return of peace and prosperity to the land. I, Tywin Lannister, brought 10,000 Lannister troops to the gates of King's Landing in order to bring the bloodshed to a quick and decisive conclusion. King Aerys had been sending ravens for months, begging for my support to end the uprising. In a way, his pleas had been answered. As I had suspected, Aerys opened the city gates and welcomed my men. Our plan was clear. Crush Aerys' remaining bannermen and remove the remnants of the royal family as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Wow.
Damn.
Any alternative meant years of further war and a fragmented
He's
Seven
just too
Kingdoms.
smart for his. He's too
He
smart.
is.
Means were bloody, but the results speak for themselves. As for Aerys, it is true he met his fate at the hands of my son.
And thorough.
Aerys had kept Jaime close during the rebellion, thinking himself clever in keeping my son as a hostage, should I decide to pledge support to the rebel cause. This proved to be his greatest mistake. But when the time came,
Jaime did his duty as a Lannister and drove his sword into the Mad King's back. With that, Robert Baratheon's crown was secured. The new king recognized our role in his ascension to the throne.
I'm surprised Tywin didn't just try and become king at that point.
How useful the might and riches of Casterly Rock would be if he wanted to keep it. To that end, I offered my daughter Cersei as his queen. Had Aerys not spurned this same offer years earlier, perhaps things would have worked out differently.
They would have.
With Robert and Cersei crowned as king and queen of the Seven Kingdoms, it was a new day. The dragon was
Tywin Lannister
and the Seven
put his family on the map, though.
Belonged to the stag and the lion.
Really, the lion.
Right.
The Battle of the Trident may have been an important victory for the usurper, but it was the treachery and barbarism of Tywin Lannister that sealed the fate of the Targaryen dynasty. My father, King Aerys, had ever been a friend to the Lions of the Rock. Aerys graciously brought Tywin to court, making him the youngest hand of the king in history.
Wow.
He gave him power.
He did.
He gave him respect.
Wow.
He made
That's
it
how it
possible
started,
for
huh?
Tywin to restore House Lannister to glory.
Oh, why? Because they were
Aerys
trash?
and Tywin governed side by side for 20 prosperous years. Still, when the usurper called his banners in rebellion, Tywin Lannister ignored his king's pleas for help and stayed holed up in his stronghold of Casterly Rock. In time, my brother, Prince Rhaegar, was dead. The realm was in turmoil, and the usurper's forces were said to be riding for King's Landing. What a glorious sight it must have been when a force of 10,000 Lannister men showed up at the gate of the capital with Lord Tywin at their head, pledging support to his beleaguered king. Aerys opened the gates for his old friend.
It was betrayed
Instead,
on sight.
Lannister and his men proceeded to plunder and destroy the city
That
he
is
had
crazy,
called
though.
home for decades.
So
As the
calculated.
capital was ravaged and its people terrorized, Jaime Lannister, son of Lord Tywin,
But why did he choose
proved
Tywin
every
to
bit
be his hand up?
treacherous.
What about him? You know what I'm
Treated
saying?
my father, the king, at the foot of the Iron Throne. The Lannisters entered the Red Keep and Tywin ordered the deaths of the rest of the royal family. It is said Princess Rhaenys was found cowering under her father's bed and put to the sword.
Oh.
She was only a child. As for Rhaegar's widow, Elia, she was forced to watch as Lannister thugs dashed her baby son's head against a wall before being raped and murdered herself.
Wow.
As I was the
That
heir
is
to my
sick.
father's throne, I had been spirited away to Dragonstone with my mother, Queen Rhaela, who was with child. As a raging summer storm battered the island fortress and destroyed the Targaryen fleet as it lay at anchor, my sister Daenerys was born.
Stormborn, yep.
Jon giving birth.
Damn.
Now, some 17 years later, the rightful king still lives in exile.
Not him thinking he was the rightful king.
He's a joke. I can't stand him. I can't stand him. If he was the king, imagine. That would have been ridiculous.
And I will punish the treacherous dogs.
You ain't gonna do nothing, you
who
dead.
destroy my family. And the people shall rejoice.
People shout,
And the people shall rejoice.
yeah.
In the snow-capped mountains of the moon, standing high above the rich lands of the Vale, stands the Eyrie,
The Eyrie.
a storied and impregnable fortress said to have been built by the legendary Mountain Kings in the Age of Heroes. It is the stronghold of House Arryn, one of the oldest noble families in Westeros. Their sigil, a soaring falcon over a crescent moon. Their words, as high as honor.
Littlefinger freaking hijacked that.
Of Andal invaders, who sailed across the narrow sea and came ashore at the Fingers. According to legend, Sir Artus Arryn known as the Winged Knight, soared through the sky atop a giant falcon, landing on the peak of the highest mountain, where he defeated the Griffin King in battle. It was the Andal's first great victory over the First Men, and Sir Artus was duly rewarded. He was declared King of the Mountain and the Vale, and the region was renamed the Vale of Arryn. Thousands of years later, Aegon the Conqueror arrived in Westeros. House Arryn bent the knee to Aegon and his dragons, and were allowed to maintain their control of the region as Lords Paramount of the Vale and Wardens.
Aegon just came and conquered, like,
over the centuries.
easy. Everybody bent the knee.
Yeah, dragons.
Yeah.
I do like how Daenerys is really not trying to use the dragons the same way.
Like, Aegon said they only used it once.
In rebellion against Mad King Aerys.
If I heard correctly.
Upon winning the Iron Throne, Robert named Lord John Hand of the King, a position he held until his mysterious death.
On the far western coast of the continent, high atop a rocky promontory overlooking the Sunset Sea, sits Casterly Rock, ancestral seat of House Lannister. Below it lies Lannisport, one of the great cities of Westeros, a centre for trade, culture, and the great Lannister fleet. There are a number of gold and silver mines in the Westerlands, making it the richest region in all of Westeros.
That's where they get their money from.
One of the mines lies beneath Casterly Rock itself, making House Lannister the wealthiest of all the noble houses. This allows House Lannister to finance many endeavours of other noble houses. Even the king himself has sought credit from Casterly Rock from time to time. We Lannisters claim our descent from the Andal invaders, and through the female bloodline, Lan the Clever. According to the legend, Lan, using only his wits, won Casterly Rock from the noble house of Casterly during the Age of Heroes. The Lannisters reigned as kings of the Rock for thousands of years, and worked to make it the envy of the rest of the Seven Kingdoms. Our time
The envy. You see how proud he is?
when Aegon Targaryen, otherwise known as Aegon the Conqueror, arrived in Westeros with his army. The last king of the Rock, King Loren Lannister, joined forces with King Meryn Gardner, the king of the Reach. Together, with 60,000 men, they met the Targaryen host in open battle.
This is when the fire came out, right?
Yeah.
History tells us that Aegon unleashed all three of his dragons,
Yeesh.
killing 4,000 men at what came to be known as the Field of Fire. King Meryn himself was burned alive that day, and House Gardner turned to ash with him. Seeing both the threat and opportunity, the Targaryens represented
the opportunity. Yeah, right. Wisely surrendered. Like, I love his choice of words.
Lannisters were thus appointed Lords Paramount of the Westerlands and Wardens of the West. Titles we hold to this day. Let us be clear, though. It is neither luck nor royal favour that makes our house prosperous. There have been times in our history where some have thought us weak, lazy, or opulent. My father, Titus Lannister, nearly bankrupted our house with his poor investments, and allowed himself to be mocked openly at court. When our vassal, the Rains of Castamere, dared to rise up against the Lannisters, they learned how dangerous it can be to
Rains of Castamere.
I, Tywin Lannister, led the assault on Castamere to put down this rebellion.
And that's why it's called
I made an example of them, to anyone who doubts our might.
Wow.
They even made a quaint song about the fates of the Rains of Castamere. Sadly, there are
Who was that, Castamere?
to hear it.
That was a house that he
Today,
decimated.
the Golden Lion of Lannister
Made an
is
example.
Oh, like the whole name.
Yes.
Yeah.
feared throughout the Seven Kingdoms.
What did they do
Our
wrong?
words are,
I forgot.
hear me roar.
Of course they are.
But there are other words that should be remembered.
A Lannister always
Like
pays his debts.
Casterly Rock. A Lannister always pays his debts.
I know that's right. I knew that one.
Ooh, I love that they're doing all the houses because we know a lot about Lannister and Stark, but Arryn and stuff I didn't.
In the Age of Heroes, the family's founder was Brandon the Builder, who, in the aftermath of the Long Night, helped establish the Night's Watch.
So this is Bran's voice when he was like real young.
Legend has it he enlisted the aid of giants and the powerful magic of the Children of the Forest to raise the mighty wall, which has protected the realm for generations. He went on to build the ancestral seat of Winterfell and reigned as the first king in the north.
The Starks reigned as kings for thousands of years.
That's my brother.
Notwithstanding the invasion of the Andals. As the southern kingdoms fell and the Children of the Forest were driven away, the north stood strong, maintaining its religious customs and its way of life. Eventually, the reign of the Kings of Winter came to an end with the coming of Aegon the Conqueror. After Aegon and his dragons destroyed the combined armies of the Reach and the Rock at the Field of Fire,
The Reach and the Rock.
King Torrhen Stark bent the knee and swore fealty to the Targaryen dynasty in order to spare the destruction of Winterfell and his people.
Mm-hmm. He did what he needed to do.
After known as the King Who Knelt.
Which is crazy because they all ended up kneeling.
Aegon named Torrhen Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North.
The Starks take great pride in their history and traditions. It is one of the few noble houses that still keeps the old gods.
I love the
sacred
Starks.
weirwood tree looms large in Winterfell's godswood. Its ancestral sword, Ice, was forged in ancient Valyria and has been passed down through the generations. House Stark remains steadfast in its support of the Night's Watch, even as the once illustrious order has fallen on hard times. Much like their sigil, the Grey Direwolf, House Stark is the stuff of legend in the north and throughout the Seven Kingdoms. And their family words, winter is coming,
serve as a reminder of their beginnings in the wake of the Long Night and a grim portent of things to come.
A lot of Starks, a lot of history.
Them are my guys. Oh, this.
It's the same video?
Is it?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Okay.
My brother, Robert Baratheon.
That's crazy.
Right.
You caught that.
I know, right? Just went
that
to the
didn't
next
even give
one.
us a end credit.
Right?
Sheesh.
Wow. So, first off, I just do want to say, wow, I wish I knew a lot of this stuff earlier, right?
Also, want to say, we were very... I know it's a reaction, but there's a lot
It's
to
hard.
take in.
Yeah, it's hard. We can't
I
really
was trying
speak.
to pay attention. I'm like, whoa. The
Yeah.
details were detailing.
Which I'm sure you guys are familiar with if you watch other people's stuff, because there's no way I could pay attention to
And speak. I'm like, if I say one thing, I'm going to miss what the
I'm
fuck
gonna
he's
miss
about
it,
to
yeah.
say.
So it was hard, but it was a lot to take in, and I'm glad we watched it.
No, I am too.
Like I was saying before, like I knew of, there was some stuff I knew, but like most of the stuff I didn't. Like there's a lot of history, and it was told by many people's perspectives. You know what I'm saying? Like just to hear Tywin's explanation of his families, right, and how his rise to power, his family's rise to power, right?
Yeah.
That stuff was cool to hear because it's like he told it with some pride, and he told it like his excuses were different than how other people told his story about the Lannisters. It's like, there was something else I wanted to say.
I already said it a couple times too, just how I do like how they had different, opinions on the same situation. Like we got to hear different ones because I didn't know what to expect from this. Mm-hmm. I thought it was just going to be like set in stone what it was, but now you see, everybody obviously feels a different way depending on what side they were on. So it was cool to get, all the different opinions, even learning about the Children of the Forest, the First Men, because, every time I see stuff like that, I'm like, well, where do they come from? I mean, that's the never-ending question of life, period. But, yeah. And just like, how is the Night's... not the Night's Watch. The White Walkers, like, why are they against us? Like, whatever, just the never-ending questions I could have.
It's so crazy, too, because I don't know if... maybe this wasn't as clear to me as it is now, but... like, I didn't realize that the Targaryens really weren't in Westeros for that long. You said
like 300 years?
300 years. Yeah. I thought it was way long. I thought they were there for way longer. But the Andals ruled the Seven Kingdoms for a long ass time. And these families, these houses, right? The Starks, the Baratheons, Lannisters, they've been around. They've been the ones that have been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So like,
And
I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like quite clear on that at all. And then
Yeah.
just to hear like it was only 300 years. And 300 years, I know is a long time, but like.
Compared to what it was with everybody else who was already there, and then we gotta just bend the knee to this invader is what it seemed like at the time. Like, just because you have dragons, you come over. I mean, I guess you could do what you want with dragons, but technically, you kind of just like stomped in and took over.
Yeah.
Like from all of us.
Yeah, and I guess they were the ones that kind of united the realm and made it one
Yeah.
kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Or one. Rather than like the separate 7 kingdoms.
Well, what did that really do?
You're right.
I'm still Warden of the North, and you're
Yeah.
still the guy of the Storm's End. Like, you didn't bring me crops. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It might have brought about like a time of peace that they probably haven't known for a long time. Because I'm sure like some of the kingdoms were at war with each other. Like the first men were at war with the Andals, and the first men were at war against the children of the forest for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure like unifying the country.
Wars.
Yeah. Unnecessary battles, like unifying everyone under one person probably, caused a bit of peace.
Also gave them more power, though. It gave the king a lot more power over these people. Like, you still have your loyalty to the king. You have your warden in the north, but his loyalty is now to the king rather than to the north, to himself. Interesting stuff there, guys.
Yeah.
Lots to take in, but very good stuff. I'm excited to see, like, the ones that... Because obviously we completed this a while ago now this season, so I'm excited to see the stuff that we've seen more recently.
Yeah, but even that, because like the children of the forest, right?
Yeah, we're just getting into them now.
Yeah, well, we really just watched them, and from season 1, Histories and Lores, we learned so much about them, right? Even the White Walkers, right? Like we learned a little bit about them in this one too, like. So that's crazy that a lot of this was told. I guess this is from the books, but like season 1's Histories and Lores,
Yeah.
So the telling of the story is a lot different, and the history you need to know from the beginning in the books is a lot different from what you need to know in the show.
Yep.
From season 1. So, great recommendation.
Thanks,
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, thank you. And we'll be doing the rest of them.
Yep.
All
so
right,
stay
guys.
tuned, you guys.
Yes, sir. Peace.